Okay, so today we do multiplication and division of these numbers. What were these kind of numbers called?
Integer.
They're called integers. So today we're going to multiply some integers. I told you this would be the easiest set of rules that we've had. The adding were kind of annoying because sometimes you had to add, but sometimes subtract. And subtracting did the same thing. Sometimes you had to add, sometimes you had to subtract. Multiply is nice because no matter what, you're going to multiply the numbers. So if I look at these first four problems, all of these answers are going to have something to do with the answer number 12, because
Multiplying
3 times 4 is 12. When I go to do the divide problems, all the divides we're always going to divide. So all of these answers are going to have something to do with 2, because 12 dividing 6 makes 2. The only question is, should they be positives or should they be negatives, and that's where the rules come in. But there's less uncertainty. Okay, adding, we were adding and subtracting. Subtracting, same thing. Multiply, we're going to multiply every single time. So here's our rules. If you have 2 positives in the problem, you already probably know what that's going to do for you. 2 positives in the problem is going to get a positive. So out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which one do we now feel pretty sure about? 4. 4 is going to be positive 12. That is correct. What you don't know, maybe, is a negative times a negative. You could guess it. It's 50-50. I don't know. Do you remember for sure from other years? You want me to just tell you? Anybody for sure remember? 2 negatives also is going to make a positive. So which one now are we sure of? 2. 2 is for sure going to be a positive number. If they're different, it doesn't matter what order I put them in, a negative and a positive, one of each, whatever order we go in. What do you think that's going to do for you? Won't depend on anything, no.
We just multiply it.
We already did. And then how about the sign?
The sign is the times?
No. Negative or positive?
Positive?
It's not. It's going to be negative. Why would negative be a lot better of a guess, even if we were guessing? The others were all positive. Something's got to be negative sometime, somehow. So since this problem always gives us positive, this problem always gives us positive, the one of each is always going to give us a negative. So this problem number 1 should be negative. Check. Problem number 3 should be negative. Check. Another way we could say this is, we're going to get a positive if the signs were the same type. We're going to get a negative anytime the signs are a different type. So these are different types, we go negative. Same type, positive. Different kinds, negative. Same kind, positive. We do multiply and divide the same day because divide have the same rules as multiply. 2 positives is going to always be a positive. 2 negatives is always going to be a positive. We're only going to get a negative if the signs are different. So for this, positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive, because those are the same type. Same type makes it positive. This one? Negative, because they're different types. This one's going to be negative, because they're different types. And like I said, that's the easiest set of rules. It doesn't matter what's first, it doesn't matter who's bigger, it doesn't matter anything. If it's a multiply problem, just multiply them. If it's a divide problem, just divide them. No real analysis needed on that. And then just recognize, as long as the signs are the same type, the answer will be positive. You're only going to get a negative if the signs were different types. So that's the easiest group of integer work we can do. Question about those? The second thing we're going to do today, because it's a nearby lesson, is talk about some division rules. So you have in your hands a little half sheet of paper that I cut a corner out of it that we're going to make a study sheet. Next time I see you, we're going to have 2 quizzes to go for. One quiz we'll continue to build up is the rules quiz we've been doing. So we now have 3 add rules. We have 3 subtract rules, like you did today on the paper you already turned into me. There's now 3 multiply rules, and then there's 1 divide rule. So 10 points worth of rules on the positive negative stuff. We'll do that next time I see you. Second quiz we'll start to do is this 8-pointer that's in front of you. It has some things that we've talked about other days, but we've never officially learned it or quizzed it or tested it, so we start to do that today. So if I give you a number like this, and you want to know if 2 or 3 or 4 or 8 or different numbers go into those, there's tricks that you can do that without sitting here and long dividing 8 into this number to see if 8 goes into it. There's a quick test to know if 8 goes in. There's a quick test to know if 2 goes in. There's a quick test for lots of different numbers. Does anybody remember from other years any of these rules for any of these numbers?
If the digits, adding the digits, if they equal a number that 9 goes into, it's divisible by 9.
That's correct. So we don't have to do these in order. So that he's talking about answer number 7. So for question number 7, it's the rule that's the trick for 9. The answer is if the sum, S-U-M, of the digits, D-I-G-I-T-S, is divisible by 9. Divisible you can spell by looking at other answers on the paper. So if the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. So let's try that rule out and then we'll look for another rule. So if we add up these digits and just yell, what do the digits add up to? 9. 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 1 adds up to 9. So if I'm making a list of all the numbers that go into 12,510, 9 would go on that list. 9 can go into this, because if we add up the digits, 9 goes into 9. Add these. What will these digits all add up to? 21. So can 9 go into that? No, 9 does not evenly go into 21, so 9 can't go into that number. How about this one? 20. So does 9 go into that? No, 9 doesn't go into 20. Last one of those? 9. These add up to 9, so does 9 work? Yes. Okay, so if you want to know if 9 goes into a number, add up the digits. If 9 goes into the sum of the digits, we're good. Anybody know another trick, another rule for any of the other ones?
5,
Okay.
if the last digit ends in 0, 5.
That works. So that is, he just did answer number 4. It's the rule based on the number 5. It's if it ends in 5 or 0. Ends in 5 or 0. When I'm over here, am I still on screen? Or do we need to turn slightly? Okay, over here?
I'll turn a little bit.
All right. A little better?
Yeah.
So does 5 go into this number?
Yeah.
Yes, because it ends in 0. 5 go into this?
Yes.
Yes, it ends in 0. 5 go into this?
Yes.
Yes, it ends in 5. 5 into this?
No.
No, it didn't end in 5 or 0. Question about the 5. Anybody know another rule? Yeah. Okay.
If the sum of the digits is divisible by 3.
The rule for 3, yeah, that's question number 2. So question number 2, the rule for 3 is if the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. It's basically the same rule as 9, it's just with 9 you're dividing 9, and with 3 you're dividing 3. But the rule for 3, which is question 2 on that page, is if the sum of the digits, D-I-G-I-T-S, is divisible by 3. So we already wrote down the sums, that's why I wrote them down. I knew we'd use them later, so we already have them up here. Would 3 work for this thing?
Yes.
Yes, because 3 goes into 9. 3 for this?
Yes.
Yes, because 3 goes into 21. 3 for this?
No.
No, 3 doesn't go into 20. 3 for this? Yes, because 3 goes into 9. If 9 worked, guaranteed 3 works. I mean, that's not a question for the quiz. I'm just telling you as a little shortcut fact. If 9 goes in, 3 goes in. It's kind of like if you're in Cheswick, you're in Pennsylvania. Doesn't work in reverse the same way. If you're in Pennsylvania, you aren't guaranteed in Cheswick. Okay, but if 9 works, guaranteed 3 works. If 3 works, maybe not on the 9. Anybody know another rule? We've got 3 down, 5 to go.
For number 1, is if it ends in an even number. it's-
Sure. Yeah, if we want, that's perfectly correct. If we want to do it in the shortest way we could say it, just say if the number's even. You could say if the last digit is even, that works too. But if we have an even number, 2 is going to work. So we're just looking at the ends. 2 work? Yeah, because that's an even at the end. Does 2 work?
Yeah.
Yep, that's an even at the end.
No.
Nope,
Nope.
nope. So we're halfway. Another rule?
For number 8, 10, if it ends in 0.
Yep, the last one, the question number 8, which is the rule for 10, is if it ends in 0. If it ends in 0. So 10?
Yes.
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 Yes. No.
No.
No. 5 down, 3 to go. Anybody know any of the other ones? Let's do the rule for 6. The rule for 6 is if 2 and 3 both go in. So that's question number 5 maybe? But the rule for testing 6 is if 2 and 3 go in. Not 2 or 3, 2 and 3. That's very different. For example, your parents are going out of town, they tell you they want you to wash the dishes or clean the garage or mow the grass or clean the bathroom. You come home, you did one thing. How happy are your parents?
Not really.
Happy? Because they told you to do
Oh, okay,
this,
I got
or this, or this, or this, you do something, you're good.
Yeah.
If your parents take that same trip and say they want you to do the yard and the bathroom and the garage and clean the attic and all that stuff, and you do one thing, your parents
They're not
are,
gonna be happy.
they're mad. They're only happy if you did
Everything.
everything. Okay, so we're saying 2 and 3, both have to work. If one of them fails, we fail. So for this, does 6 win?
Yes.
Yes, because we did 2 and 3, so 6 gets in there.
Yes.
Yes, we had 2 and 3, so 6 gets in there.
No.
No, complete failure.
No.
No, partial failure, but still a failure. We need them both to work for 6 to win.
For 4, if it goes into the first 2 digits.
First 2 digits? Disagree?
The last 2.
Last 2 digits. We're going to say if for the rule for 4, which is probably question number 3, it's if 4 goes into the last 2 digits. If 4 goes into the last 2 digits. So we're not looking at this whole number, we're just looking at which piece of it.
Last 2?
Yeah, which makes the number
10.
10. So if 4 can go into 10, win. If 4 doesn't go into 10, lose. We're just taking 4 into those last 2 digits. So
No.
lose. 4 can't go into 10. Here we're trying to take 4 into
60.
60. Some people might need to break out pencil and paper to do that, and that's okay. But it's a whole lot easier to go 4 into 60 than 4 into that whole big number. 4 into 60, will that
Yes.
hit?
Yes.
Yes. So 4 goes in the left. Here we're taking 4 into
35.
35.
No.
No. 4 into
3.
3.
No.
No. If it's double 0, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yes. 4 does go into 0. How many times?
0.
0. So if you end with a double 0, that's okay for 4. Question about rule for 4? Rule for 8's almost the same. It's just involving the last 3 digits. So the rule for 8 is if 8 goes into the last 3 digits. Again, we might need to break out pencil paper to do that. Let me work from the bottom up because it's easier. Here I would take 8 into those last 3. Can 8 go into 3?
No.
No. 8 into 35?
No.
No. 8 into 560, maybe we need pencil paper,
Yes.
maybe we don't. But here, maybe we don't. 8 into 56 goes 7, and then the 0 didn't hurt us, so 8 goes in there. 8 into 510 is not maybe your favorite thing ever, but it's easier than 8 into that whole number. 8 into 510, yes,
No.
no, maybe so?
No.
It is a no. I started to put it on the list right after I said no. It's a no, don't put it on the list till you do. Okay, question about those? We didn't have a rule for which numbers.
7.
There isn't a rule for 7,
And
and there wasn't a rule for 1. Why don't we have a rule for 1?
it goes in.
1 goes into everything. So depending on how the directions were asked, if they asked you like what single digit numbers work, is 1 a single digit number?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the directions would say what single digit numbers divide in, we'd want to add 1 to all these lists. But if the question said like what numbers that you had rules for work, then you wouldn't want to put 1 on the list. We don't have a rule for 1. If they said single digits, who wouldn't you want to do? 10. 10's not a single digit number, 10's a double digit number. So depending on the directions, maybe you use 10, maybe you don't. There's no rule for 7. The only way you could do 7 would be to try it out. So on the quiz, I always make that extra credit. If you'd want to try to divide 7 into this and see what would happen, that answer is a no. So that wouldn't be worth anything to you. If you try to do 7 into this,
Yes.
the answer is a yes. So if you would include 7 in your list when that's a yes, I'll give you an extra point every time you find the lucky number 7. So if you try to do 7 into this and just work with that whole number, would 7 be a hit?
Yes.
Yes. So I'd give you a bonus point if you find the lucky 7. 7 into this, I don't know, it'd be a minute, so...
No.
No, missed by 1 though. If this was a 4, we'd have had a hit. So I almost hit on that, but 7's bonus stuff. Question about this? Your biggest challenge is going to be not to forget that this exists. Because especially this time, on this calendar this year, we have Monday off.
Oh, yeah,
So
that's
today's Friday. There is no Saturday school, there's no Sunday school, there's no Monday school. We come back Tuesday. This might be a distant memory. So if you're not in the habit of writing down what you're supposed to do, you might want to write down this, what you're supposed to do. We're doing a rules quiz on all the rules, add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We're doing a rules quiz on these divide rules. And then homework, I'll tell you homework information in just a minute, but I don't want to start with the homework because I want to go look at set RR. So let's head to RR, and then I'll tell you about homework a different time. We'll leave set RR on the video, it's fine. Let me write up the subtract rules with your assistance. Somebody tell me a subtract rule that will help us do set RR. Anybody subtract rules? Hopefully you know them, we just took a quiz on them. I'm not draining a bunch of empty spaces. Subtract a rule. Yeah. So we're positive minus positive equals positive with a very small but very important word, if. If the first one's bigger, positive minus positive is positive. If the first one's not bigger, we go negative on that. That's true. Somebody else, another rule from yesterday, subtract?
If there's two minuses, it's gonna be a plus.
2 minuses in a row is going to make us just change that into a plus. That's true. And when that happens, we need to know some adding rules. We might need to know that positive and positive is positive and we add. We might need to know that a negative plus a positive depends on bigger. And we subtract. That might happen. And there's one more subtract rule that we had yesterday.
Negative minus positive.
Yeah, and you don't have to put it in my quotes, but I put bigger in quotes because it isn't really bigger. We're getting negative minus positive, getting a bigger negative, meaning you're going farther into the negative pit. Like if you start off with a number like negative 10, you might end up with something like negative 20. Negative 20 in terms of the number line and life is actually worse and smaller than negative 10. But it's like bigger in size. It has more negativity to it. It has a bigger value would be another way to say that. So RR is where we are. We'll give it a try. If we strike out on a person, we'll just go to the next person instead of coming back to the same person. What do you think for one? Got it? Okay.
-2.
No, it won't be in the 2 family. You have something in the 8 family there.
8.
It is positive 8 on number 1. 2.
Negative 8.
2 is negative 8. 3 is a positive 2. 4. Okay. 5
-2.
is a negative 2. 5 is a negative 8. 6.
-1.
We'll try next guy.
-1.
We'll try next guy. Try the next guy. Back to the front. You have 6.
1.
Try the next guy.
Wait, 6, right?
Number 6.
-1.
Try the next person. It is 11. We destroyed people with that question. So which rule are we on 6? Which of these rules is coming into play on number 6? Minus minus, turn that into a plus. So in reality, this question number 6 is 5 plus 6. So if you make that minus minus a plus, that's new, and I'm familiar, I get it. But if you make that transition, 5 plus 6, we made life real easy. That's just going to be 11 once you make that transition. So be on the lookout for those minus minuses make a plus. Which other ones so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, who else had a minus minus to make a plus so far on the first 6?
First one?
First one did. The first one really became 3 plus 5, so that just made 8. Who else did that rule? 3. 3 would still be a negative 3, but adding a positive 5. So if you struggled with negative 3, adding a positive 5, we have to look to this. It's a negative adding a positive that depended on who was bigger, and we wanted to subtract. That's how that one ended up a positive, because positive was bigger than 2 once we subtracted. Who else had that rule? 4. 4, the minus minus makes us add in the middle. That's again a negative adding a positive. So again, that one depended on the bigger, which was the negative result, and we subtracted, we got a negative 2 on that one. Which rule is 2 and which rule is 5? They're the same rule as each other. They're not the minus minus rule. But which other rule is it on 2 and on 5?
Negative minus positive.
Negative minus positive. So those both got bigger up to 8 and they both were negatives. So 2 and 5 are both negative 8s. Anybody question about first 6? If you don't like the rules, there's other choices that you have on hand. Another choice I gave you was using the number line. So if we want to use the number line, where did adding positive send us? Adding a positive is right. So subtracting a positive would go left. If subtracting a positive is going left, subtracting a negative must go right. So we could use the number line to direct us. If that's confusing, don't do that either. Another thing I told you, but you have to be fairly patient to do this, is go through the middle 2 signs of every problem and switch them both. And then you just have adding rules only. It's like these never existed. You still have to like humor me on the quiz and put them down, but you don't actually have to use them in your life. If you don't like these, don't use them. You could go through and make every subtract and add, and make every second number just be a different type. So like on number 1, you could make the 3 adding a positive. Or number 2, you could make the negative 3 adding a negative. You could go through and just do that, that's fine, some schools teach that. I teach you that as a way you could do it. You make your choice how you like to do it. First 6, questions there? All right, we'll try to go some more. What do you think about 7? It is 19. Does anybody need help with 19? We'll try to troubleshoot these subtracts one at a time if we need to. Anybody 7 mad at 19? 8, give it a shot, even though you said you hadn't done it. Why don't you just try it real quick while everybody kind of just hangs tight.
Would be -5.
Disagree, but we tried. We'll try next guy.
-19.
Disagree? It is positive 5. So let's talk about that one, because that one got a little jumbled. Which rule is it on 8? Yeah, we're going to go those minuses, make a plus. When the minuses in the middle make a plus, then we've got to know that add rule from the other day. It depends on who is bigger, which is the bigger positive number with the 12, and we're going to subtract to get a 5 on that. 9?
5.
Disagree? We'll try next guy.
I got 5.
Okay, we'll try next guy. Number 9.
Would that be -19?
It is negative 19, so let's talk about that one. Which rule is that? What do you think? That was yours, you got it right. Which thing?
Negative -12.
That's a negative minus positive, so we're going bigger down that negative hole, all the way down to negative 19. Back to the front for 10.
-19.
It's also negative 19. 9 and 10 are actually doing the same thing. They both have negatives, subtracting positives, they're both going down the hole, they're both going down the same hole to negative 19. 11
-5.
is negative 5. 12
19.
is positive 19. 13 is negative 19. While you think about 14, why don't we take a break there? Anybody 11, 12, 13 need some help while he thinks over 14? Whenever you're ready, let me know. We'll try next guy.
-6.
Try next girl. It is 0. If anything subtracts itself, it's 0. That's one way we could do it. Or you could make the minuses in the middle a plus. You're adding then a differently typed pair of numbers, so we'll subtract that back down to 0. 15.
0.
We'll try next guy.
I got 0.
Okay, try next guy. It is 12. What's the rule on 15?
Minus plus minus makes plus.
Yeah, we have 2 minuses in a row in the middle there of 15. Make that a plus. Add them up, you'd get a 12. 16, back to the front.
-15.
Negative 15 is true.
-15.
We'll try next person.
-5.
Negative 5 is true. 18. Negative 15 is true. While you think about 19, does anybody need some help on 16, 17, 18 to understand what was going on? No, we'll try next person.
-15.
We'll try next person. We're on 19.
5.
It is 5, that's true. So again, what rule is it on 19? This seems like the one we've talked about the most today. What rule is happening on 19? 2 minuses in the middle are making us add. So let me go on the board because maybe we're not quite visualizing this. So we have negative 5 minus negative 10. We've got these 2 minuses in a row. Just make that into an add world. And then we need to think about add world rules. There's a negative number at the beginning still. There's a positive number at the back that we just created. That's going to depend on who's bigger, which is the positive person. And we subtract. And that'll subtract down to 5, positive 5. Yeah.
Oh wait, so like if you add a negative, it's going that way. Oh, okay. I thought it was. Alright.
20.
Negative 15.
We'll try next guy.
I got negative
Okay, we'll try next guy.
15.
It is 15. It's the rule we seem to keep getting jammed up on. So the good news is, if you can master one more rule, I think we're good. But the bad news is this rule keeps grabbing us. Which rule do we want to hit here?
Plus.
Plus. Minuses make a plus, and then there's no negative anywhere to be found. It's just became 10 plus 5. We're back to first or second grade with a 10 plus 5 once you make that change. I'm not calling you a first or second grader, but what I'm just saying is, if we see these minuses in a row and they make a plus, sometimes when we make that new leap that is a 7th grade leap, you're back to first grade then, once you made that little bump. 21, we're back to the front.
Negative 20.
We'll try next guy.
That's what I got.
Okay, try next.
Negative 4.
It is negative 4. It's again that same rule. It's negative 12 minus negative 8. Minuses make a plus. And this is this add rule, the depends add rule. We've got a negative adding a positive, we've got to do that depends thing. 23. I think, wait, no, which one was that? That was 21. You're 22, sorry.
Negative 20.
Negative 20 is true. Take a shot at 23.
Negative 4.
Take the next shot at next guy.
I got just positive 4.
Okay, we'll go next person.
Negative
It is negative 20. 22, 23 both have a negative minus a positive. When you have a negative minus a positive, we're going to create a bigger number by putting them together to get to 20. But it's negative. They're both negative 20s on those two in a row. 24, go next guy. Give a shot at 24.
Oh, 20.
We'll try next guy.
Negative 4.
We'll try next guy.
4.
It is positive 4. We're going to make those minuses in the middle a plus. And then it depends on who's bigger, we're going to subtract.
20.
25 is 20. A couple of you did well with that. I would suggest if you did well on that, go ahead and turn it in. A lot of those were a mess. If it's a mess, for your own sake, I would do it again. You can watch the video if you have to, so there's lots of advice and answers on there. But if that was a total mess, maybe don't turn that in, because I don't think you're ready to really call that a victory yet. New homework is going to be 2 locations. There's going to be a set WW is the main thing. WW in the back is going to be multiplying and dividing a lot. The other little bit of this is 339 letters. The 339 letters are what I mostly erased over here, where we're making lists of all the rules that work. So 339 letters is one thing, WW is the other one, and that's our day. Cut that off. Thank you guys.